Welcome to the Customer Wins podcast, where business leaders discuss their secrets and techniques for helping their customers succeed and in turn grow their business.
Hi, I'm Rich Walker, the host of the Customer Wins, where I talk to business leaders about how they help their customers win and how their focus on customer experience leads to growth. Some of my past guests have included Bill Cates, the referral coach and author of The Hidden Heist, and Chirag Gandhi of Millie. Today, I'm speaking with a prior guest, Adrian Johnstone, the CEO and founder of Practify. And today's episode is brought to you by Quick, the leader in enterprise forms processing. When your business relies upon processing forms, don't waste your team's valuable time manually reviewing the forms. Instead, get Quick. Using Quick, you'll be able to generate completed forms and get back clean, context-rich data that reduces manual reviews to only 1 out of 1,000 submissions. Visit quickforms.com to get started. All right, to me, this is a special episode because I get to bring back a guest from very early in my podcast series. Adrian Johnstone is the founder and CEO. He is passionate about CRMs and wealth tech and was recently fashioned as the Salesforce advocate. Adrian, we're going to have to talk about that. Practify has been around for 13 years, been in the US for 9, with clients across 5 continents. They are both CRM and AI combined, and we're going to hear more about that. So Adrian, welcome to the Customer Wins.
Hey, welcome back. I'm glad to be back. It's what an honor to be the first repeat guest.
No, I'm excited to have you, man. I was excited to have you the first time, and this is going to be great today. For those who haven't heard my podcast before, I love to talk to business leaders about what they're doing to help their customers win, how they built and deliver a great customer experience, and the challenges to growing their own company. So Adrian, let's talk about your business, understand a little bit better. How does your company help people?
Yeah, for sure. So Practify, obviously, we're known most as a CRM provider. I kind of refer to that as us being the custodian of our client relationships. And so we help them win by putting that in good order, making sure that, it's rich. We have the richest data model across all industry CRMs, but also that we're taking friction out of the relationship. And, we'll talk a little more about Practify Intelligence, but, we have the ubiquitous AI answer, but well before that, it's how do we take friction out of the day-to-day? How do we put advisors in informed conversations with their clients so they spend more time on helping their clients win? And by default, we all kind of win in the process.
We're going to talk about AI. I mean, as fast as I can get to it, right? Because having you on the show from 3 years ago is to talk about that evolution that's taken place for you guys in the age of AI. Because you came on the show in January 23 when AI was just coming out to the world with ChatGPT and whatnot, right? But you just said something that I want to repeat. The core fundamentals of your business, have they actually changed? The core value you're delivering to your customer, has it actually changed?
Yeah, not at all. It's interesting to me, we're built on a Salesforce chassis, and never do I sit here and talk to people about us being built in Apex. It's amazing. We have this coding language, and all of a sudden everyone's like, but AI. And it's like, you're talking about what it is, not what value it delivers. So our job is always and has always been deliver awesome software, no matter what it's built in, so that it moves our clients forward in their relationships with their clients.
I have to admit, when in that January of 23, I told my company there's 2 things we're going to do this year. Every person on my team is going to adopt AI in some capacity. We're going to learn how to use it and make it part of our lives. But 2, we're going to build our first AI product. And I had the fallacy of, okay, AI is cool. What can I build with it?
Yeah.
And I kept thinking about it. I'm like, I don't want to build that. I don't want to build that. And then I listened to my customers and I heard what they actually wanted. And I saw an application for AI. And I'm like, oh, that's where it starts to make sense. So that fundamental has to always play out. Are you seeing people missing the mark on that?
Oh man, so badly. It's the LinkedIn is both really encouraging and really terrifying when you see either RIAs or overnight experts in AI are out saying it's like, oh, over a weekend I built this or I built that, and it's like, that's awesome, but what value does it deliver to the experience you want to deliver to your clients or to your business? Is it moving the bottom line forward? Is it, is it compliant? Have you thought about that? Do you even understand what that means? And I just see so many people out there who don't come from a software development background who are like, oh, because I can, I should. And it's like,
Yeah.
because you can, maybe you shouldn't. You need to think it through properly first. And so there's maybe a little bit of a reckoning to come there for a few folks.
You know what it's like when the first time somebody created music with AI, we were all blown away, like, oh my gosh. And today, if somebody wants to play their AI music they built, you're like, please don't.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Or, wow, man, I've worked out how to get AI to answer emails for me. Whereas now it's like, oh, I can tell it's written by AI. I'm not even going to bother reading it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
That's a
it
problem.
goes from an advantage to a disadvantage in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In an industry that's all about people, and I talk about this a lot, our clients, advisors and their teams, their currency, their differentiation is the experience and the relationship that they create with their clients, with the end investor. And as soon as you try and scale that by depersonalizing it and whacking in an AI tool, it's like, are you making it better or are you just making it faster? And just as it's faster to move forward, it's faster for the client to go, well, hang on, I'm now being served by a machine. I'm going to go to the other advisor who, you know, gets the spelling wrong every now and again, but really understands me as a person.
I had a great episode with Katie DeFeo of SunWest Credit Union out of Arizona. And they were talking about how they rolled out their AI named Sunny. And the first time it went out, it was a total failure. Because now customers are like, I don't want to, I'm used to talking to people. I don't want to talk this AI thing.
Yeah.
And they stopped, they withdrew, they said, oh my gosh, let's listen harder to our customers. Let's really, really understand what it is they want. And they rolled out Sunny in a much more successful way where people understand you can always get to the agent that you want to talk to. You don't have to talk to the AI. And two, the AI can do things faster and get you answers faster. So it's partnering with you. But the other thing they did is they personalized it so it's more funny and it's more engaging. It's a fantastic view of how to do this. So let's go back to Practify. You've
Yep.
had 3 years. That
Yep.
wasn't your homework assignment, but it was everybody's homework assignment. What have you done?
So look, I think we started maybe in a different place to you. We started with the listing bit. We didn't attempt with what are we going to build out of the gate. We actually dialed it way back and said we're going to watch and we're going to listen and we're going to see where value is and we're going to talk to our clients at great length. And that culminated last year in us pushing really hard and putting Practify Intelligence into the market. And contrary to what was going on, there was an explosion at the time as we saw the note taker pool. Just it was like, if it had been powering a fan, I would have been cool all year as every new note taker kind of lobbed into the market. But we started in the back end. We talked to our firms and said, what unlocks value for you? And they said, it's workflow, it's process. We want to scale, but we know we need to standardize to be able to do that. And so Practify Intelligence first feature was natural language kind of workflow creation. We get that complex workflows is building them as a skill. And so we started with what we call admin intelligence today. And it was like, you can just ask it, build me a move money process. And then it'll coach you on how to make that better. It's like, hey, like what you've asked for is kind of pretty simple. This is a better example with a wealth specific lens. Would you like to try again? And kind of work you through this curated, teaching you how to prompt, giving you insight, and then at the point you're happy with it, just commit, and then it'll go away and build it and Practify for you. So, we worked out the back end is where the first most meaningful value was for our clients. That's not the same for every client. For our clients, that's where they were feeling the pain.
I think I felt to it. There's a lot of temptation to build the new product, the absolutely new product, because AI, right?
Yeah.
But I think you've been very, very smart about this because there's a lot of fear of missing out, a lot of hype about, oh, you got to be doing it. I mean, how hard was it to resist not building a note taker yourself?
Well, we have one now.
Well, there you go.
we didn't build it first. And we took a bit of a different approach to it. So we put out admin intelligence, then we released relationship intelligence, and that's all about how do you get ready to pull in all of the information, whether it's from CRM or from email or from the web more broadly, to power a great conversation and really feed a great relationship. And we've delivered a huge amount there. And then we linked it back to admin intelligence. How can the outworking of that, the insights from that, actually trigger all of your custom workflows and tasks? So many of the note takers can write a task to the Salesforce platform. It's like, great, now there's something for someone to go and do. But as a business, you've just invested all this effort making them really personalized and custom to you. And the third-party tools like the context. So we join those dots. And then it felt obvious to then say, well, I know it's commoditized, but let's do the transcription and summarization service at the front. So we call that meeting intelligence, and it's pretty lightweight. You can easily spend a couple of $100 on a note-taking tool these days. And ours is like 20. It's like, guys, the value isn't in that. The value is in what you do with the output of that. And so we really went down the path of saying, where does the value live? And the center of an advisor's universe isn't a meeting, it's a relationship. And so we put the real meaning in the relationship, and the meeting part it's an efficiency gain, but it's a pretty commoditized efficiency gain.
I have evolved with AI because I went from let's build a product and bring it to market, which we did, to how can we provide more value in our product? How can we create more features from the backlog? How can we streamline, and how can we be even more stable as a product set in terms of our infrastructure? So a lot of our focus with AI is not on the front end experience. It's on the back end of metadata, structure, coding practices, doing things faster. Honestly, I don't know how you feel about this, but I have a goal that within the next year, we can have a conversation with a customer who tells us a problem that they want to solve, and within a week, it's in production.
Yep. Nice.
I would love to be able to do that. I think it's possible. It's hard.
I mean, we similarly to yourself, we didn't launch product immediately, but our teams, our engineering team in particular, lent really hard into using Claude and Cursor, and now Claude and Claude Code. And we just have seen massive benefits. It's been really phenomenal as a software development business. What is possible in a sprint or in a release cycle is so much more, and you can be so much more adventurous, which has been phenomenal. We have AI tools deployed in every team in the business, and it's the onus is on us, and it's an exercise we do as a leadership team. It's like, okay, so we've deployed all these tools. Are we getting value out of them? And there's plenty we've killed along the way. It's like, hey, yeah, this seemed like a great idea, kind of didn't live up to the hype, and so it's important to turn them off as well.
I met a guy recently. I met a guy recently who is using agentic coding practices to build solutions. He's like, yeah, I've built over 70 apps, 20 of which have gone to production. Wow, that's a lot of apps that don't make it.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it kitchen playground? Is it real stuff? Was it, just because it was cool? Where's the focus? Like where's the value you're delivering to your customer, and how do you know you're delivering that value?
Yeah, that's right. And I think, I think for advisors today, and there's so much hype. It's like, get on the AI bandwagon. You can build this yourself. I mean,
oh yeah,
Rich, you're in the same groups I'm in LinkedIn, and there are some really strong advocates for just build it yourself. I was like, I mean, yes, you can, but should you? And do you really want to sit in front of the SEC and say, yeah, it's great. I built this over a weekend, and we've been relying on it now to communicate information to our clients. I'm in the no camp there. I'd be leaving that one to the professionals. So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the reasons I'm resistant to put AI on the front end of my product is simply because the agreements I'm seeing with big customers now all ask, "What are you doing with AI? How are you protecting us, et cetera?" I don't want my end user using Quick with AI from the front end perspective. Go to ChatGPT for that. Go to other products. That may change in the future if I see a real use case for it. But like you said, the back end is where you're building the value of your product, and the product is what the customer cares about. So here's my other question. Do your customers actually care that your solutions were built with AI, driven by AI, infuse AI, or anything AI? Do they care?
Look, I think at the moment the answer to that is yes, more than they should. I think there is definitely a FOMO component to it. It's,
Mhm.
what are we getting from an AI perspective? Because we deal with large firms typically across the world, and so many of them are managing, you multiple billions, tens of billions of dollars in client assets, and they have investors and stakeholders in the business who are looking for them to be contemporary, and so they're looking for what's their AI story. And in turn, they're looking not just at us, but everyone in their tech stack to say, well, what's the AI story I'm going to tell my investors that we're getting from our suppliers? So I think that will normalize over time. And
Yeah.
the question will return to what value am I delivering to my clients? And the how we got there will be less about what the tech was built in and more about whether it's adding value. So I think right now there's a budget for AI technology that is separate and discrete to good tech in general,
Mhm.
and I think that'll normalize over time.
Yeah, I agree with that because everybody was jumping in saying we've got to do something. In fact, I was laughing walking through an airport a year and a half ago when Caterpillar is now AI driven, the tractor company. And non-tech companies are touting AI. I'm like, okay, it's over. The mainstream has it. It's over.
Yeah. It is funny. It's as someone who cares incredibly deeply about the value delivered, you know, there's plenty of things that people are excited. Oh, I have an agent that does this. It's like you also had a rules engine that could do that for you for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You didn't set up the rules, so it didn't do it for you. But the AI, you got excited and you've learned how to prompt. And so now you've got it doing it for you. And so I think there is that, we talk sometimes about the fact that people see failings in technology, but often it's just the failing is in their ability to maximize the value they get out of what they have.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's, it can be a little
Yeah.
that dichotomy. The next shiny thing comes along that draws the attention. Look at what we solved with this. Guys, you could have solved that years ago.
Yeah. You and I have been around long enough to see it. I mean,
I've got the
the
hairdo.
whole blockchain. Yeah. All the different hypes that have come out. But I mean, AI, look, for me, this is the first technology that feels like I'm co-working with somebody,
Yeah.
where it's not just a tool that runs a specific process every single time. And that's actually a problem too, right? If I'm talking to a human, they make mistakes, they do things different than you expect. How are you guys managing the quality of how the AI works in your product?
Yeah, for sure. And look, it is a challenge. The reality is that humans in the team can make mistakes, and so can technology, and AI is more prone to that than others. Uh,
Hmm.
we're really narrow in the use cases, and we go incredibly deep into citation. So we won't put information. For example, our meeting preparation capability pulls information from the CRM data, email data, call transcripts, and the web as is relevant to it. Every single thing that is put forward has an attached citation. So
Mm.
before the human in the loop is able to say, "Yep, I'm comfortable that this is right," they can click on it and they can go back to the email and they can say, "Yep, that context fits. That makes clear sense. I can attribute that." And so we don't want there to be a risk that we're providing information or suggestion that hallucinates.
Yeah.
Just as we infrastructurally, every one of our clients has their own dedicated lockdown Azure environment for the AI to operate in. Its own RAG store. Nothing is shared publicly. No training or learning to any models. Everything is in these kind of watertight bubbles. Uh, And that's because we would rather be overly cautious. We understand the consequences of what happens if this goes wrong for our clients. I'm
Yeah.
not sure every vendor out there is being as tight. I think there are plenty
Well,
where it's okay if it's a bit gray.
yeah. It is a hard thing. I mean, I've experienced this. I'm sure you have too. If you ever give the same prompt twice to an AI and you get two totally different results,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's because it's interpreting. And so, an interesting example, we had our whole North American team together last week for our summit. We do it twice a year. Awesome fun. So great in a remote working environment to see faces and shake hands.
Yeah.
Uh, and as part of that, we like to keep it a bit fun. And so, but with a strong work message. And so I used Claude to put together an activity. It was like an hour-long activity. And I iterated with Claude over this activity. And as I dug in, and I'd ask, and we'd try and clarify and kind of work backwards and forwards. It's ridiculous. She'd finish up talking to this thing like it's a person. But then I got to the point where I realized Claude had just diverged completely
Mm.
and
Yeah.
gone into and I had to go back through it. And I was like, oh, back here, it just stopped referencing what had gone before and started over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is like, imagine that in a meaningful client interaction. Like, you just can't take that risk. And so, from a product perspective, we have that really locked down.
Yeah. I think of AI as being this really, really intelligent blank slate. Every time you open it up, it doesn't know anything anymore. It knows all of its knowledge, but it doesn't know the context of what you're doing
Yeah,
unless you feed it that context. And probably what you're describing about it moved off the chain and went
yeah,
somewhere else. That's probably when it ran out of memory and started dropping things out of memory just to manage itself, right?
yeah. And so, like, using projects is great, and you can keep referencing artifacts and all that kind of stuff. But it's still like the onus is on you as the person working with it to keep it focused. Nope, don't
Yeah.
go that way. Go this way.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much of this. I built this app over a weekend, and that's not really being thought through. It's like, yeah, I ran 10 tests and I was pretty happy with them. Yeah, kind of, it was a bit off the mark, but I know, so it's okay. And I'm like, okay, but what about the 11th one? What about the 112th one? What does that look like? And I just, I'm not sure that that's being as thought through. And the answer, that comes up in retort is, oh yeah, but people get it wrong as well. So, okay, but there's
Yeah.
accountability in the person, and there's an emotional attachment and a desire to get it right. Whereas within the AI, there's a desire to give you an answer.
Yeah. There you go. Well
No
said.
concern about whether it's right.
Yeah. It was actually hearing so many people build an app over a week and that drove me last summer to say, I've got to figure out the agentic coding and understand what's going on. And I learned very, very fast that it goes off the rails
Yeah.
and it can produce something, but is it scalable? Is it sellable? Is it secure? Is it ready for prime time? And you brought products to market. Building the product's not the hard part.
Yeah.
Getting it ready for production and getting it scalable and supportable and I mean, just documentation for the product for your users. There's so much that goes into it.
And then wanting to stand there and look a client in the eye and say, yeah, I feel good about this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Right.
yeah, we've done this, and you're entering, yes, into a commercial, contractual relationship, but there's also a human trust relationship here. And I refuse to sit in those conversations. If I won't stand behind what we're delivering, then we're not going to deliver it. And so,
Yeah.
the barometer has got to be me as an individual being willing and happy to stand there. And, that sometimes it's hard.
So how did you get this moniker of being the anti-Salesforce advocate?
Salesforce is sometimes everyone's whipping boy, and we're built on it as a chassis, and sometimes it's a little tricky where people are like, oh, you're everything about Salesforce, and you won't listen to anything else. And um, AI has been an interesting journey there. We don't use Salesforce's AI capabilities. We don't use Agentforce. And of course, we're not built sitting on top of financial services cloud. We use Salesforce as a platform, as a service. and we use the best available of everything to deliver outcomes for our clients. And Salesforce's agent force is not the best available from an AI perspective, and so we just don't use it.
Yeah.
And if you read my stuff on LinkedIn recently, you'll see me talking about financial services cloud, and people are in this rush to leverage AI, and they've got these custom build out CRM environments that are just terrible because they're like shanty towns. It's, well, we started with a data model that wasn't right for the industry, and then we got consultant group number one to get us live, and then they didn't want to come back and do more hours. So we got consultant group number two, who had one of the people from consultant group number one to extend it some more and then extend it some more. And like, if it were a physical building, you wouldn't walk into it, but they entrust all of their client relationships to it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the answer is, well, it's hard and expensive now, so we're going to throw an AI tool over the top like Agentforce and hope that makes it better. And I think,
Mm.
Salesforce is awesome at what it does, but you've got to recognize what it does well. And it's an incredible technology platform.
Yeah.
What's not is a very good product if you're an RIA. It's not built for that. They don't pretend
Yeah.
that it is. Consultants will sell you that it is, but really it's a starting position, and everything after that is custom and scrappy. And AI isn't going to fix it. An AI layer sitting over a rubbish data model is just going to read rubbish. And as we talked about before, from an agentic perspective, automating bad design doesn't make it better. It just means
Hmm.
you don't have to. You can kind of look away, pretend what's happening behind the curtain has made it pretty. And so for me, I think the anti-Salesforce advocate is, I'm all for the platform, and they'll get the agentic AI stuff into a good spot in time.
Yeah.
I think Salesforce is fantastic in that way. They'll persist and they'll invest and they'll get there. I think for advisors and in firms of any size, really, whether they're the aspiring kind of couple of person shop who wants to move to a scalable platform but doesn't really know what they're doing, or whether they're big mature tens of billions in AUM who have kind of built these things over time. They just need to step back and realize that AI isn't a fix for what is there. And so,
Yeah.
sometimes it comes across as being negative, but I think the answer is, I'm just realistic. It's understanding that.
That's what it seems like to me. You're looking at it for how is it helping you do what you need? How does it help your customer do what they need? And right tool for the right problem. I got to tell you though, when you said shantytown, and people in America don't see shantytowns unless they travel internationally. I mean, realistically. And I've been to South Africa several times. My wife is from there.
Yeah,
And the moment you said shantytown, the first thing I thought about with Salesforce, and you build on Salesforce,
yeah.
I have seen a 2-story shanty house, the corrugated metal.
Yeah.
Who would go in the second level of that thing? I don't know. That seems
Someone who
entirely
needs shelter. I think it's and I think it's a nice analogy to technology, because it's born out of necessity at the time. It's not
yeah.
born with forward thought about risk. Yeah, that corrugated roof with a tarpaulin stretched over the top of it, it's going to keep me dry. It's probably not going to keep me safe. And in a slightly stiff wind, I might die, and so might be the people who are sleeping underneath me.
Right.
Right? But in the moment, it feels like the right thing to do. And I think there's too much of that happens. And I think AI is a risk of accelerating that problem. Um, uh, Again, engineers with all of the best knowledge and power can build incredible buildings and do those sorts of things, and they can build them to price points. They don't all have to be the ultra expensive ones. But if you're just throwing stuff together, someone eventually gets it.
Yeah. Yeah. Adrian, there's always been a question I wanted to talk to you about personally, and I'm going to bring it up now. You guys are not a huge company. You're not a Fortune 500 company, right?
Yep.
Yet you're in 5 continents. So how do you manage an international company? How do you do it?
I spend a lot of time in airplanes.
I
Uh,
bet.
so, what we were talking about, Salesforce is incredible for the right things. And of course, we don't have to stand up geographic infrastructure. We get to use that Salesforce relationship for that, and we get a lot
All
of
right. So you're not worried about domain and privacy because
correct.
you can build it in Australia, you can build it in Africa, wherever.
Correct. We get to leverage the behemoth, but we get to bring it to market in the way that it was intended for the audience. And so we avoid a lot of that cost and complexity and risk, frankly, that comes with that. And then we work hard on time zones. We only have team members in North America and Australia, and so we're managing across time zones, and we're working with clients. We're always very transparent in the way that we do that. So not without its complexities, for sure, and definitely the bulk of our client book these days is here in North America between the US and Canada. Um, but we love having clients who give us input from other markets because it brings a richness to how we think about the product. The way
Yeah.
a team in London views a client relationship or in New Zealand views a client relationship is different to the way that maybe an Australian or a team sitting in Florida might. So it's fantastic.
I have to imagine it gives you somewhat of a competitive advantage as well because you're not entirely dependent on being the dominant player in any one space or area. You can go where the customers need you and have the right fit for what you do.
Yeah, and look, global market economics impact different countries in different ways at different times, and so there's certainly a nice offset that comes from that. Um, but the counter to that is you've got to make sure that you're keeping your product evolving in a way that
Yeah.
is relevant to everyone. And one of the beautiful things about financial advisory relationships, when you strip back, why do most advisors get into the industry? And it's because they want to help people have a great outcome. And
Mm.
that is true in every market that we operate in. That's the motivation. And what sits underneath that is, we want to help people accumulate wealth. We want to help them manage the risks associated with their wealth. We want to help them age and decumulate their wealth gracefully in a way that meets their lifestyle objectives. So, from a data model perspective, we get to be nice and broad to cater to the
Hmm.
nuances of that in different markets. But we also get to bring that common understanding that actually, if you come from the investor up, and you think about the relationship and the outcome the advisor's trying to deliver first, then the
Yeah.
technology kind of sorts itself out. You don't have to sit there and think, what data point do I need? And what object do I need? And how do they connect? And what form is going to be answered by this? And it's like, hang on, what problem are we solving? Let's start there.
Yeah.
And you get very focused on that.
No, that's great. Look, before I get to my last question, what's the best way for people to find and connect with you?
Yeah, look, if they want to find us from a Practify perspective, obviously the website is nice and easy. There's an easy contact us form and you can fill that in. If you want to get to me personally, it's LinkedIn. Just find me on LinkedIn and shoot me a note. But either way is great.
But don't write the note with AI. I heard that
Yeah,
in
look,
this
if you
show.
write the note with AI, I probably won't. If it's full of M dashes, I feel bad. M dashes was such a beautiful part of writing up until they became a fingerprint for AI. And now every time I see something with M dashes in it, I'm like, I don't know, was this chat? Was it Claude? Gemini? Like, who's throwing M dashes at me now?
I'll share with you my prompt to remove the M dash. It's about 98% accurate. All right, so here's my last question. Who has had the biggest impact on your leadership style and how you approach your role today?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm probably going to give you two people because there's
Sure.
different periods in leadership that I think make the biggest difference. So prior to Practify and founding that, so we go back what feels like 3 eons ago, I ran a consulting business and I founded that, having been an independent contractor working through other consultants. And the biggest impact there is a guy called Gavin Pearce in Australia. He's actually a South African guy who was in Australia. He was the CEO of an insurer who became my first client. And Gavin really taught me to back myself and to have an opinion on things. Not always popular, doesn't always have to be right, but he taught me if you're going to say something, say it and mean it. And that really had a strong influence in how I went into the consulting world. It's like, if I'm going to stand in front of someone and have an opinion, I should be prepared to stand behind it. I should have a lot of integrity in that.
Yeah.
Back in the early 2000s in consulting, integrity probably wasn't a word that was thrown around a lot unless it was paired with scandal. And so there was a big point of difference there, where as an individual who was forming a company, I could differentiate by just being deeply integrous, and I've carried that with me a lot. And then more recently, if I think back to taking over the CEO role here at Practify back not that long after our first call, back in kind of end of Q1 2023. The person who's most shaped my thinking as a CEO and the way that plays forward is actually one of our investors. Is not the way that is often reflected in the populist kind of commentary, but Carter Griffin from Updata, who has provided me a lot of insight into kind of what makes a good CEO. And I'd say I'm a work in progress on that front. Definitely wouldn't give myself full marks, but having an investor who you can talk to and be a bit vulnerable and exposed to and ask those questions has been incredibly impactful.
Yeah, I can imagine. I haven't had that myself. And I still have the role and the title and nobody wants it. So I think I'm doing okay.
They're not putting their hand up, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Oh man, I love asking this question because I love answers like you just provided, Adrian. So thank you for that. All right. I want to give a big thank you to Adrian Johnstone, CEO of Practify, for being on this episode of The Customer Wins. Go check out their website at practify.com. And don't forget to check out Quick at quickforms.com, where we make processing forms easy. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. We'll click the like button, share with someone, and subscribe to our channels for future episodes of The Customer Wins. Adrian, thank you so much for joining me today. Again.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. And maybe I'll get a third appearance in about 3 years' time.
Let's go.
Thanks for listening to the Customer Wins podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.